It's clear to me that the whole of human history has been about pleasing other people, doing as we're told, not wanting to get into trouble. But of course, I want something far more robust and solid than that. And I really do wonder that a lot of the principles and assumptions that rules that we've based our behaviour on are just total bullshit and made up. And there's a phrase from one of my favourite podcasts, and the guest said that human behaviour has partly been by a small group of people's design, but also by compliance. And we always forget that. Australia is known for being the island to which the British sent all of their convicts, but there were also the prison staff, the people who ruled with a very secular rod of iron. And I want to make sure that what my behaviour is underpinned by are really good, sound principles of justice, of a very, very English notion of fair play. You know, that we have a jury of our peers, and we have a huge amount of history based on that, 800 and more years than, on that principle. And I woke up this morning, waking up feeling quite groggy at the moment because I'm a little bit all over the place. But I like recording these videos. It is a way of speaking my thoughts and feelings out loud, of making sense of them myself. And I'll be honest, my life really is just an enormous work in progress at the moment, because I'm really delving into all of the suppositions and assumptions that I've laboured under. And a lot of them they're about not wanting to get in the way. We're going to cross the stile now, because we're going to go into the woods above my village. It's one of my favourite walks. I've just been to Hassop Dairy to get my raw milk, and I've got a beautiful week's supply. And that, you see, we're approximating, right, a lot of the time, because I've, in this backpack here on my back, we've got 2.5 litres of raw milk, and a litre we sort of round up when we're converting from imperial to metric, and we say, oh yeah, a litre is 2 pints, but it's not. A litre is actually 1 3/4 pints. To the decimal point, it's 1.76 pints, so not even 1.75. And we're constantly sort of doing gymnastics in our head to make sure that things are consistent, but they're not. There's a convenience in saying that 1.75 or 1.76 is 2 pints, but it's not. And I think that you lose a lot of the magic of life by just making these assumptions and missing out these beautiful woods. I do love it. And you'll see that when you're walking through these woods, that everything falls where it does. It lays there unapologetically, and it's very, very natural. But to me, it's the Hercule Poirot in me that it's not very neat. You know, going into the weeds and really examining your beliefs and how powerful emotions like anger and resentment and fear that you've missed out on things, well, that has a really, really damaging effect on us if we leave it unquestioned. But of course, it's very, very uncomfortable admitting that you're not living life as fully or as joyfully as you potentially could. And when I record these videos, I always write my blog post in the morning, and then I do my video where I record in portrait, because I upload that video on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. But with this one in landscape, mostly so that I can actually capture for posterity these wonderful surroundings, I expound on what I've written in the blog post. It always serves as the theme, and sometimes, not always, but sometimes I will recite specific lines from what I've written earlier in the day. But I never quite know exactly where these videos are going to go. I'm just relating my thoughts completely openly and honestly. And the thing is, I realise it is a skill of mine to be able to speak very fluidly and fluently, and, you know, without censorship, really. There are a few things that I've said recently in videos where that old thought of mine, that old thought process of mine rears its ugly head and says, oh, Martin, you had this conversation with people and somebody said something. Am I allowed to relate that? And of course, the answer is yes, absolutely. But it's why I'm doing all the work that I'm doing to challenge the assumptions that I have. Because asking for permission all the time, it's why I started out this video saying, well, we've lived thousands and thousands of years of so-called civilized history of the human race, largely as serfs or slaves, or just psychologically living in a small way so that we don't get into trouble. But to call it trouble is in itself perhaps a misnomer. You know, maybe all of the things that you're worrying about, what other people are thinking of you, as I certainly have done, maybe that's just a get out of jail free card so that you don't have to be brave. And I think that the more we act as if we need to be brave, you know, to live our own lives, well, I think that's a great thing to do, to realise that it is your life, and that everybody is making it up as they go along. And we can hypothesize and conspire to say that there's a small group of people that's always been controlling the world, which is absolutely possible. You know, we can recognize playbooks throughout history. But the most important thing, I believe, the most important unit in the world is you and me, the individual, doing our very best to live confidently and joyfully, to say yes and to say no, to define boundaries. And I think the power of individual responsibility, well, I think that's a solid grounding, a solid base point to start living your life from. I really do. And I know that when I behave in that way, when I am self-determined and just as possible, as decent as possible, good things happen. And I achieve more, I help more people through living by example. And it's always there. The choice to live in that way is always there for you. So if you want my advice, take that opportunity.